Good.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to our viewers who are joining by Zoom. Welcome to the 5th Annual Shoreview, presented by the Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism. I'm Jane Buchanevich. I'm the Faculty Director of Light, and I'm joined by a distinguished panel of experts that represent different segments of the gaming, hospitality, and tourism industry. We're thrilled this year to have some new faces on our panel and also our regular contributors, so thank you all for being on the panel today. Before I turn the podium over, or the mic over to Brianna, who's our moderator for the day, I'd like to just do a few introductory comments to get the panel started, food for thought, so to speak. So Shoreview is a look back on the summer. Every spring we do Shorecast, which is a look towards the summer. So I wanted to recap what our panelists thought in the spring, looking towards the summer. Everyone was pretty positive. Things were looking good with the key tourism metrics, and they were predicting a pretty robust summer season. There was some concern because of the omission of the beach concerts this year, and at that time we didn't even know that the air show would also be canceled, so that was one area of concern. But everyone was hopeful that because travel expenses were increasing, that people would visit closer to home and spend their money locally. So that was a hope for the summer. So looking at the summer statistics that we have available, casino gross gaming revenue, total gross gaming revenue, was up by 6.5% year over year, which was great, but that was mostly because of internet gaming and sports betting. The brick and mortar gaming was relatively flat and actually down 0.2%. And summer employment in the casinos was also down slightly, almost 1%. Vehicle counts through the toll plaza at the Pleasantville Toll Plaza were also down, just a very small percent, really flat. Meetings and conventions was on par with last year, so there were 55 shows, which was a slight increase. However, the delegate spending was down slightly, down 1%. We just started looking into the impact of the air show, and we don't have all the data available to us yet, but what we found is vehicle counts on the day that the air show was supposed to be at the Pleasantville Toll Plaza were down. 18.8% fewer vehicles went through the toll plaza on the days that the air show was supposed to take place compared to the other years. So you can see, though, by this chart, 2009 was the first air show, and that was really the peak. So the other years after that were, relatively flat, but the 2004, of course, you can see the impact of not having the air show. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Brianna, who's our moderator for the day, and I'm going to give her the clicker.
Thank you, Jane. Which button is it? Okay, yeah. I'm Brianna. I am an event coordinator with Good Time Tricycle Productions, and we will start off by just going right down the line and having everyone introduce themselves, if that works.
Oliver Cook, Associate Professor of Economics at Stockton University.
I'm Jim Murata. I'm the Regional Director of Sales for Caesars Entertainment, so I oversee Harrah's, Tropicana, and Caesars.
I'm Diana Villa. I'm the owner of Mexico Restaurant, a small family-owned business in Atlantic City.
I'm Diane Whelan. I'm the Director of the Cape May County Department of Tourism and the Chairman of the Southern Shore DMO.
Thank you. So we will... Okay, so we'll jump right into it. So how did the summer of 2024 measure up to preseason predictions?
Well, I think based on Jane's kind of introductory comments, I think that it ended up being a little bit less robust than perhaps expected. I think, as I kind of indicated last spring, I think a lot of this always depends upon one's kind of benchmark, and so I think that 2021 and 2022 summers were kind of huge bounce back years for obvious reasons, given COVID summer of 2020. And 23 was okay. It definitely was a slowdown relative to 21 and 22. And I think that my own kind of metrics that I watch, employment, gaming revenues, obviously, transactions, And taxes, especially as they tie to kind of the broader region, hotel and motel taxes in particular. All of these suggest, in the case of Cape May, a little bit up. I'll be interested to see what Diane has to say about Cape May specifically. But Atlantic City, my sense is it was like very hit and miss in terms of kind of June was up, July was down, August, so kind of
No, I agree with you. So if you look at just the gaming numbers, it shows they were up. But you got to look at other numbers, the non-gaming numbers. I seen hotel rates this past summer, I should say, that were on par with my winter rates. I seen struggles in occupancy levels from Sunday to Thursday. Friday and Saturday, we're going to fill year round. It was those Sunday to Thursday that were soft.
In terms of like a small family-owned restaurant business that's pretty much driven by like local people, May was up for us and August was up, but June and July were down just a little bit, like 2% compared to last year. Open Table, which is our reservations platform, that was pretty much flat. It was a difference of like 1 to 2%. We did see, my servers did notice that we didn't see as many local people that we usually see that come down from Philadelphia. We didn't see them that often. But in terms of sales, it wasn't that big of a difference. But if you look at the profit, how much profit did we make? It wasn't as much as we should have made in profit because everything has gone up in price.
So I use for my comparisons occupancy tax, which is hard numbers provided by the state treasury. What we saw in 21-22 was phenomenal. We saw, overall 11.9% increase in overall spending. So then we go into the soft 2023, and we still saw a 13% increase across the board over 2022, which was, a pretty unusual year. So now we're looking at and comparing 23 to 24, and the latest data available takes us into July, and we're looking at another maybe 13% increase over 23. So we're surpassed 2019 when everything was good. We're comparing now to this increase in 2021 and 22. What I look at is in July. All of our numbers except April, all of our months are up in occupancy. I look at April because Easter was in March. So we lost dollars, overnight stays in school, kids off from school and things like that. So, we were expecting, a percent. It was about 0.4% low in April. But when I look at June and July, we're up both months compared to 23. So while we were predicting that it was going to be pretty much a soft season, we saw just in July 5.5% increase or dollars generated in occupancy, which is a 1.6% increase over the prior year. When you look at $5.5 billion compared to $5.3 million compared to 5.3 in 23, we're a little surprised. We outpaced every other county as far as July numbers for occupancy. Now, a lot of that we try to factor in increase in room rents because this is based on room rental rates. But we're also seeing that it's pretty much, we take that in consideration each year, and that we are seeing we had a higher occupancy rate. In July, we're waiting for August. That's usually, again, in the $5 million area. So what we're looking at is how, what do they spend? According to our surveys, they're spending about $374 per day per person for overnight stays. The Zartico report we just got based on credit cards is $266 per day per person when they're coming here. So that impacts across the board. Anecdotally, we're talking to all of our stakeholders, and they're saying that August was better than July. We don't have the hard numbers, but we're seeing that there was more growth and more overnight stays. So we predicted that it was going to be soft. We did a survey. Our visitors they were all indicating that they were going to be changing the economy. Cost of living was impacting. 46% of the people said that they were changing their plans. It's scary. Of those 46%, 60% said they're changing and reducing vacation spending. 8% said they were canceling their vacation for 24, but there are about 47% said we're cutting the length of stay. We're shortening the length of stay. So again, we're seeing that Thursday to Sunday has now become our week. We used to have about 22% of our visitors stay 7 days or longer, and this year we're down to 19%. So they are cutting their length of stay. Pretty much that's trending across the country. So, it's not unusual for us, but we need to now, in our businesses, to make up for that. How do we bring people in? And a lot of our businesses, in Cape May especially, did some incentive, come for the midweek, and, we'll give you credits, cash, to spend in their restaurants, in their bars, in their shops. So, people were planning it. We do a conference each year, and we say, this is what it looks like. And I can't tell you how to make adjustments, but if you pay attention, you can make adjustments. So we're looking now into the fall and winter season to see how we fare there. But waiting for those August numbers, I think we're going to be good.
Thank you. So how would you describe the region's current economic circumstances, and do you see them changing in the near, mid, long-term future?
So kind of the two headline numbers. Unemployment right now is about 6.6, which has been trending up. Earlier this year, it was about 6.61, so it's risen by about half a point, which is pretty consistent with what we've seen going on kind of everywhere, frankly. The Fed's kind of, long running at this point increase in interest rates, which of course just recently reversed, finally kind of started to bite. It took a while, but this definitely put upward pressure on the local unemployment rate. In terms of employment year-to-date numbers, off the top of my head here, I'm kind of looking at my notes. Casino and hotels employment year-to-date through August is down about 2%. Total across the metropolitan area is up about not quite 1% or something. So, again, I'm guessing that for 24 is going to look probably somewhat comparable to 23, which was okay, 1.5% like job growth overall. But again, the unemployment rate rising. We'll see what happens. Obviously, interest rates are going to start looking like they're going to start coming down, and so moving out into 2025. I also think it's kind of important. One of the things I said in the spring when I was here, I do think that presidential cycles matter somewhat, right? I mean, I think that people plan, people kind of have expectations, and I think especially as it relates to businesses making investment decisions, the tax environment is obviously going to be different depending upon who wins this election looking out over the next 4 years. And so these kinds of big kind of expenditures and decision making as it relates to business investment, I think matter. And so it's not uncommon, I think, to see people that are running businesses, pause, right, and see kind of like what this looks like after it shakes out. So I think we'll obviously have more clarity once we move past early November. We hope. once we move past November, we'll see. But I'll leave it there.
So currently, it's not all doom and gloom, which is good. Convention-wise, from what I do, our perspective, numbers look great throughout the rest of the year. We're running a little behind from last year, but it was a record year for us. September, off to a good start. We had a nice citywide convention in-house, the National Association of Elevator Contractors, that drew a $149 rate midweek, which is a phenomenal rate. Casino-wise, again, it's going to drive Friday and Saturday night. The midweek is going to be a little softer, I still believe. Oh.
In terms of a small business, we are fueled by the employees of the casinos. Those are our customers. Those are the ones that come to us regularly. If the casinos don't do well and they don't get enough customers to go to the casinos, the small businesses get hurt. And it all trickles down to us. So talking to the regular customers, they're saying that they're not going out as much, they're not doing takeout as much. groceries for them are a little bit too expensive right now, so they're just kind of like hunkering down in their houses. Sales for September, they have been up actually, but if you talk to the servers and the bartenders, they're like, oh no, I'm hurting. Like, I'm not making enough tip this month, not as like usual. But in terms of, if I look at the numbers, we're doing pretty good. It's not that like bad, I guess. So I don't know if presidential elections, they do take a toll. We do see it in the food and beverage industry that sales do go down during this year. Hopefully they'll come back up in October. That's what we're hoping.
What we're seeing currently as we enter into the fall is that September is pretty good. The weather has been good for us. A lot of events, a lot of special events, which are bringing more day trippers, which is fine. But we're hearing from our, lodging industry that their reservations were a little sketchy and they're a little bit down. But we are seeing, we're promoting more that getaway, and if it's the weekend getaway, we're happy with that. But we're seeing these events are attracting people. We're seeing nature. We just had the Monarch Festival, which was amazing. So we're seeing more and more people who are looking for that closer to home, and we're promoting the closer to home visitor, the drive-to visitor. So right now, we're looking at, how is the fall going to go? All of our marketing is going to be dependent on, the visitors that come in the fall and the businesses that stay open. And that's a major concern of ours. Or the business, we're mom and pops. There's nothing really corporate there. So they can decide next week, you know what, that's the last weekend we're going to be open. We'll see you next spring. So, we can't market, it's full campaign that you're going to come and experience everything when we're not even sure. So that's what we look at right now is how do we move forward and how quickly can we adjust our marketing?
So in the spring when we met at Shorecast, we talked about the future of the summer events, and I know we touched on the loss of the beach concerts, but at the time we didn't know about the air show. So in past seasons, Atlantic City hosted the air show and the series. Do you feel an absence of these events in 2024 had an impact on summer tourism?
It certainly seems, Jane obviously mentioned the toll, the Easy Pass toll counts. It's interesting, June was up. July and August were both down at both, of the relevant Easy Pass tolls. The Pleasantville, of course, and then the Egg Harbor was a little bit different in July and August, at least the numbers that I looked at. My sense is yes. What's interesting about this, I was talking to James before, last spring when we were here, there were a couple of local businesses on the panel that were actually suggesting that net, a lot of these larger events oftentimes move locals out for the few days because they anticipate, it being basically a zoo, which it oftentimes, of course, is. And so, I think it maybe is a function of, who you are, small versus large business, if this is actually helpful to you, where you're obviously located, the foot traffic that it generates vis-a-vis your business. So I don't know. My sense is maybe this, there's kind of a differential impact of the absence of these events relative to, where you sit, who you are. But
I think they had a big impact on the city. You're talking an air show on a Tuesday, Wednesday in August where room rates were as high as, $4.99 a night. You're getting weekend rates on a Tuesday, Wednesday. The beach concert, same thing. A 3-day festival where you're driving rates. Again, non-gaming revenues were impacted. You're driving rates on a Thursday, a Saturday, a Friday, where normally, would double, triple what you were getting on a normal weekend. Same thing with the air show. We also had I believe there was a Caribbean Festival beach concert also in early July last year, or 23, I should say. It wasn't here in 24. So there was a few things. I'm sure it affected local businesses, the boardwalk businesses, just that, the non-gaming revenues, because the gaming revenue for August, I believe, was up, but only half the picture.
Yeah, for us, it did affect the air show and the beach concerts. We don't really get those customers to come to us because we're like a block from here. So we're not like in the casino district. But like I said, it all trickles down. If the employees in the casinos do well, if the people that work as like the bartenders, the servers, the bussers, like if they're working their max hours, they're making great tip, they're gonna go out to eat to the local places that they love. So for us, yes, it did impact. Usually we would be busy that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I would have to put on more servers to be able to fulfill the needs of the customers that come in. For us, it did impact. We didn't notice it because we were kind of busier in August, just in general. But if I look at the numbers, yes, like we should have been busy in the middle of the week during that time. The beach concerts, we don't see a big difference with the beach concerts. If they have it or they don't have it, like I said, we don't get those customers. But overall, yes, I think if we would have had more attractions, more people would have come and stayed a little bit longer. But without these attractions, like they're not gonna come down to the beach. And Atlantic City has everything. We have the beach and we can have attractions like this. And I think if we can capture like the beach and an attraction, you can like capture it all in like one place. Because yes, people in the north can go to the beach, like Asbury Park, they can go to those beaches, but if we have beach concerts, why not come to Atlantic City? And then we have the casinos as well. You know, we have it all. We just need to do it more.
What I can tell you for the Atlantic City Air Show and the beach concerts, that impacts our lodging because a lot of people do stay in Cape May County and then go to Atlantic County for the events, for the gaming, for dining, entertainment. So we know that they come here and they come to Cape May County and they go to Atlantic City or they participate in these events. So we know that they do. It impacts our overnight stays, but we, promote, we have an arsenal of events that take place anyway. So it's not that they're not going to continue to come, but they just don't have that activity that drives them to Cape May County or even to Cumberland County as well. So it does drive a lot of overnights.
Thank you. Was there anything else that you felt impacted performance this summer, positive, negative, and what was that impact?
I think I'll punt.
Yeah.
I'd like to add something to that. So I think the perception of the city, the casinos have invested a lot of capital into them over the last couple of years. I think the properties, I've been in the city 30 years working now, the properties have looked the best they've looked in 30 years, and the city looks the worst it's looked in 30 years. And I think that's affecting some business. I've had a conversation with Gary Musich over there a few times now. We're losing some citywide events due to the fact of the looks of the city. I don't know how many people have driven down Atlantic Avenue lately. It's a main artery in the city. So it's a hot topic right now, I think, that has to be done. Whether it's the CRDA, the mayor, something needs to be done with the perception of the city, the looks of the city, things that we can control. And I just think that's impacting now and the future.
Yes, I do agree with him with the looks of the city. It is a big issue that we have. Like if I have family come down from the north and I want to take them to Atlantic City to see something, I feel embarrassed because the streets are really bad. Some of the buildings are really deteriorated. But besides all that, other things that affected the summer was actually the weather. We see it a lot with the weather. If it's a hot, sunny weekend, we get slammed. But if it's not a hot, sunny weekend, we're not gonna get that busy. And we see it because we know that like all the families come down from Philadelphia, they live in Margate, Longport, Ventnor, they stay for the weekend. But if they don't see the weather being that great, they're not gonna come down. And that's what affects us. And I mean, usually we have a hot September. It's usually pretty like good beach weather, but it hasn't really been beach weather. I don't think the whole summer was hot in terms of going to the beach. Like, I don't know, but if you compare it to last year, I do remember last year it did rain a lot on the weekends. Mm-hmm. This year it didn't rain a lot, but it wasn't that like good beach weather. I don't
Yeah.
know.
One of the things that, the weather certainly was a factor that was good for us. Last year, it seemed like every Saturday night it rained right when people were going to the boardwalk, and that impacted that. But what really impacted us is the economy. While we were concerned about people spending less on their vacations, we have a huge second homeowner in Cape May County. We have about 47% of our dwellings are considered second homes, and about 53% of them rent them. So the rest of them use them as their second home and vacation. They were not taking as many vacations. They were coming and staying in Cape May County. They are supporting the economy. They're supporting the food and beverage industry, the retail, and recreation. So that impacted us greatly and helped offset some of the losses that businesses were finding, because the second homeowners, are definitely a big part of our economy.
Yeah. So looking forward into the fall of 2024 and spring of 2025, what do you predict for this region's shoulder seasons?
I think that we're probably going to see more of the same. I think that the fall season is probably going to, I don't see like any major acceleration in growth. Again, I think some of this is very much tied to kind of what's going on nationally, again, with the election. I also get the sense that policy-wise, right, as you kind of think about what is fiscal policy going to look like in 2025, what is monetary policy? Monetary policy seems to kind of be on this downward, rates. I think everyone continue to think that rates are going to fall. This presumably will help support spending, but I also think a lot of this is going to be very much tied to, how quickly, the national unemployment rate begins to change, what the new administration is actually going to look like. And so I think a lot of, especially consumer spending, which obviously drives so much of the national economy, but especially the economy here regionally. I think that I don't think there's going to be, huge change. I'm not going to expect major robust growth, but I also don't think that we're on some precipice of falling into some grave, recession, barring some financial crisis. I think that one area of concern I actually do have is housing. Diane is talking about housing. Housing has, if you were lucky enough to buy a house in the late, teens, it's like happy days, right? If you wrote out COVID, because the housing prices regionally have just, especially in Cape May, even Atlantic County, but especially Cape May, have just been, crazy. Home prices are just in the last 5 years. Go back to just 19. It's crazy, and so that's kind of the elevated level at which home prices are right now. For those that were around, 15 years ago, and you've got this in the back of your mind, this is always kind of a, can this kind of be maintained? Because it seems very, very frothy 5-year period, I would say.
Moving forward, fall, spring, we're probably going to be flat to 23. I'm curious to see where the non-gaming revenues go. Like you said, room rates probably going to be driving the factors a little bit there. Good thing is we have early indications, I should say, some of the citywide conventions we have coming up, the New Jersey school boards. The pickup's been great so far right there. The league's coming back. That's another, driving room rates up. Realtors coming back. So we have a good base of convention business for the fall and the spring. Like I said, it all comes down to the non-gaming spend, and those types of conventions will drive some of those numbers. So.
For us, the slowest month for us is January. That's like the month that the sales are not that great. The servers know, the kitchen staff, they know. Sometimes we close in January. A lot of other local businesses will also close that day, and they'll take vacation. We hope the numbers stay steady. That's what we're hoping. Everyone that works with me, they're all saving up their money. They're not going out and spending as much as they used to. That's what we've seen the trend. Usually I do renovations in the winter time. If I make enough profit, I put aside some money to do some renovations. This year, I think we're just gonna hold on to the money just in case. You don't know what the economy is gonna be. You don't know what's gonna happen in November with the elections. You don't know, you can't predict it. In the other years, I wasn't so concerned about like, oh, what's gonna happen in the winter? But this year, yes, we are a little bit concerned. Food prices, they haven't gone up too much in terms of, for like the restaurant, they've pretty much like stayed steady, but they're still high.
Yeah.
But then for us, we can't raise the prices on the menu, because if you raise the prices, then you're gonna lose the local people that support you. So it's kind of like, all right, so now we're gonna make less on this dish so to not lose the customer. So it's kind of like a give and take. You can't raise it, but you can't, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard having a local business in a sense.
What we're seeing, probably, I agree, pretty much the same for the fall. We have events taking place throughout the county every weekend, and we're going to see, that's going to continue to bring people here again. We're going to see more of the day trippers come in. We look into the fall and the winter. We have Cape May, and that seems they have captured the whole Christmas spirit, and we anticipate seeing some growth in that area. We're already hearing reservations and are filling up for the holiday. If anything from Thanksgiving on, they're filled or getting that way. What we look at in the spring, and again, it's that we need to continue to identify who's our customer and what do they want, and how do we craft our message, because I don't see the economy changing, and there being a flood of excess discretionary dollars next year. So we need to really. We don't know what it's going to be. We need to craft our message. We can't. You can advertise all you want. If they don't have any money, they're not coming. But how do we, craft the message to appeal to people? Say, maybe I can do a getaway. Maybe we can do, our summer vacation. But we'll continue to cut costs. So we anticipate spring has really been a season that we didn't pay a lot of attention to. It just happened. Easter, Mother's Day, they're all benchmarks that we use to measure, and we're seeing a lot more people coming in the spring. And so we'll continue to market to the customer. We need to continue to identify and tweak the profile of our visitors, so we're giving them the message and the idea that there's plenty to do here, and there's a lot of reasons for you to come. And value, that's our big message overall the past 2 years anyway, is the value of a vacation, and the things you can do, and a lot of the low cost or no cost options beyond the beach. So that's what we're looking at, for fall, pretty much the same. We're going to see probably a little bit of growth, but it's that spring that we're still thinking about, and how do we message, and can we see growth again as we go into spring and summer.
And looking into the future, last question, are there any new challenges or new opportunities ahead?
Well, I think there are always, as you kind of, James mentioned the non-gaming, universe of his business. I think that broadly speaking, this is always, perennially the challenge for Atlantic City. Obviously, the gaming industry is not going anywhere. I think, of course, the big shoe, right, and the big concern is what happens at some point in the, not too distant future, probably as it relates to New York State gaming, of course. But, this just suggests that, the long discussion that has been, at this point going on for a decade plus down here of how you continue to diversify the local economy becomes that much more important moving forward, right? And so that's a challenge that's not easy. It's not done overnight. I think there are a lot of indications that that's slowly happening in different pockets. One of the things I do kind of keep track of is, kind of sorting out the leisure and hospitality portion of the economy from the non-leisure and hospitality portion of the economy. And to the extent that growth is being driven by the latter as opposed to the former, in some sense, is a pretty good indication, right, of the local economy's kind of staying power, even if, right? The casino industry and the gaming industry has kind of been relatively soft, and at least over the past year or so, that is actually true, that the non-gaming portion of the economy has actually done better on a year-on-year basis than the gaming industry has. And I'm talking specifically about brick and mortar kind of stuff.
So I think I touched on it already. The biggest challenge I think now and for the future is the perception of the city, and cleaning the city up a little bit here. Perception's reality. Something has to be done, and then, like I said, CRDA, the mayor, I think they all need to be working together to fix things that they can fix. Opportunities, I think there's a lot of opportunities. I'm seeing more leads for conventions than we've seen in years past for larger stuff, not just regional conventions. The American Airlines, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the American Airlines running from Philadelphia to Atlantic City. I think that's helped a little bit with some of the conventions we're getting in town. We've had a lot of clients use that and speak highly of it. I know American Airlines, if they see some demands, will be adding some more service if needed. So it's a good selling point for us with conventions, and I think those opportunities to grow the non-gaming revenue in the city is our future.
He touches on a good point. How do you grow the non-gaming revenue in the city? What I've noticed in other local cities like Ventnor and Margate, they do local festivals. They do the Down Beach Seafood Festival that drew in a lot of people. Margate did their Fall Fun Fest that draws in a lot of people. If those people either buy something or don't buy something, it's still, you see a lot of people, and it makes everyone happy in a sense. Even if they just go to chit chat and get to meet people and oh, I haven't seen you in a while, all of that is positive. I think if Atlantic City did more events like that for the local people, I think people from the casino will be like, oh, let's go there too, because let's go see what the local people are doing. Let's go see the local markets that they have, things like that. It does come down to also where do you do it? Do you do it on the boardwalk? Do you do it in a street? Are the streets pretty enough to do it? Which goes down to the same issue that he said, that with the mayor and the CRDA had to get together to clean up the city. How? I don't know. Set out violations. If you don't clean up your house, you're going to get a violation. I don't know. But I think if we do coordinate more local events, more not flea markets, but little festivals, I think it could drive in a lot more people, different people, and I think it could boost the overall morale of everybody.
One of the things that we look at as in challenges is it used to be, when I first started, you turn on your lights, you slap on, a coat of paint, and you're ready for business. Now we're seeing the challenges and understanding how fragile tourism is. I mean, never before were we faced with the pandemic. The border with Canada, the U.S. was closed for 2 summers. So that greatly impacted our Canadian visitors, which in July and August is about 8 to 10% of our visitors are coming from Quebec. So we look at these challenges. We've kind of been resilient enough to get through them. But what are the challenges? What are we facing? Are there weather conditions? Are there what's happening out there? So we are looking to build the resiliency that there's still a reason to come. We change our little taglines. Open spaces, exciting places. For people who want to be outdoors, we can offer all these things that will kind of work with the visitor and what they're looking for. So we are continuing to develop plans and campaigns that will address, some of the challenges we didn't realize, and maybe some that, are coming forward, and how do we reach our visitor and how do we still get them to come. Some of the new opportunities we are seeing is, reinventing our second homeowner. They become a little complacent. So now it's, really we've got, mailing lists. We've got them, on email list, databases that we can reach out to them and say, hey, there's plenty of exciting things to do. And also opportunities in marketing and reaching further than our 300-mile radius that we normally, we're a drive-to market. The trend out there is road trips. We have no airport. We have Atlantic City Airport close, the Philadelphia Airport, but how do we promote and try to get, nudge these visitors to say, this is a great idea. The journey is part of that experience. You can stop where you want, but the destination being the beaches, the nature, the birding, things like that. So there's our opportunities to follow those trends. What are people looking for, and how do we fit? And then how do we market to them? So we see that as a great opportunity for us in using social media has certainly been a big part of it, digital marketing and things like that, videos, little clips, things like that, people in action, people doing fun things. So we're seeing that as opportunities to get our message out beyond what we normally do.
And we'll open the floor up to questions and answers.
All right. Thank you
Any
all
questions?
very much. Thank you all very much. Anyone in the room that would like to ask a question of our panel, Jane is available with the microphone. While she walks over to take that question, I'll ask one from our virtual audience. This is a marketing question that I think Diane may have touched on a little bit already, but given everyone's direct experience of the customers and consumers, are there particular themes or stories that you feel are resonating with your target audiences right now? The particular themes that could maybe be magnified through marketing to bring more people into the destinations?
One of the themes that we're seeing, and it's kind of from the pandemic time, is more and more people want to be outdoors. They want to be out in the open space. The campground industry is huge. We have more campsites in Cape May County than we have hotel rooms. And, they're filling up that, that's part of that road trip. It's part of the outdoors. It's part of being part of nature and experiential. The travel that they want to have new experiences. So we're seeing and we're hearing from our campgrounds that there's, a huge demand. And, that seems to be the trend for us, that we're promoting that outdoors, and camping is a big part of it. We're attending more outdoor shows, consumer shows, and talking one-on-one with people. And, they're looking at, beyond the beach and, get things, do things, and it also expands it brings them in during the spring season and also through the summer and into the fall.
Excellent, thank you.
Is this on? Okay, so my question is, everybody, and this is for anybody, your feelings on consolidated and messaging and branding that does not exist currently in this city. How do you feel that affected things going forward? So the messaging and issues regarding canceled events, whether it's a beach concert, air show, whatever it is, right? When there's a negative message out there that goes across that affects everybody's tourism, right? It affects visitation, it affects covers, it affects everything. So what are your feelings on that? How do you feel about where that should go going forward? Because this past summer, and Jimmy, maybe directly at you, leisure's down, right? All leisure indicators were down. Even single tickets on boat cruises were down. Group numbers were up for all those simple leisure indicators, right? Individual leisure rooms were down. A gaming number associated with that was down. Has anybody evaluated the messaging issue or lack of, right? We launched something only in June to talk about what may go on in the summer. No mechanism to buy product, no mechanism to talk about it. Where do you all feel that should go going forward? Because that to me seems to be the most obvious thing, first step, whether it's beautification we can talk about, whether it's paving roads or any message that can go out there that can be positive. What's everybody's feelings on consolidation and that messaging process?
You and I have had many conversations about it.
That's why I asked it.
Softball. You go search Atlantic City online, and there's 6 different sites. And I agree 100%. There should be one marketing umbrella, marketing this city, not an individual site for the CRDA marketing individual travelers, your site marketing to group travel. It should be one messaging, one marketing department with one message for the city as a whole. And it should be coming through one channel, not several channels.
Nick Valenote. I interact with thousands of affluent people who are around the area. And just to piggyback on what you had mentioned, and this is for everybody in the room, I mean, this is the same thing. The issue with Atlantic City and its appearance and the perception of its appearance has not changed. As a matter of fact, it's only gotten worse. What can we do, or what are we doing to force this change? To have this conversation, to consolidate marketing efforts, to consolidate management of what takes place. You know, Diana mentioned Ventnor. I live in Ventnor. We have a lot of wonderful family-oriented events all the time. And there's a lot of people who come out from all over the place, and they really enjoy that. And it does economically impact the city. So, you know, my question, I guess, is for everybody. What can we do to force this change? Thank you.
I think you need to hold the people accountable. That's number one. And there's such change in leadership at the CRDA that you get somebody finally educated on what we're doing and what happens in the city, and it's a new person in charge. So that'd be one. Lost my train of thought there, but.
I guess, you know, what's the old adage? Follow the money. So who benefits the most, and how do we force this change? I mean,
Well, I think you got to put everybody at a table and sit down and have a conversation.
I think this is a healthy conversation because I think this is the basis of this issue, that there are things in place that are moving to do this, but you know, we all have to get together and agree that this is an important issue for the city, because it's you know, what's the message going to be if the roads are still bad? What's the message going to be if you know, again, I go back to this benefits everybody. You know, you have something cancel, and if you talk to somebody in North Jersey, they just think nobody wants to come to Atlantic City, so the air show canceled. They don't know that, you know, the military doesn't fly midweek anymore, and that you know, the private company didn't pass the safety inspection. That's from lack of messaging or structure for messaging. So it goes to everything, whether you're an event producer, even if we start paving the roads, how do we talk about that and spin this into a positive discussion instead of the discussion that the roads just aren't paved? So the discussion benefits everybody. I think everybody agrees that this has to happen. I think the more we all talk about why it's important and how it's a domino effect for everything, then it makes it easier to do festivals. The conversation's changed for everybody, not just our individual silos we're in right now.
The phrase "we" gets used a lot, right? And it's like we. Who's we? Right? It's a good question. Is who's we? Sorry. It's the we gets thrown around a lot, right? And the question is who's we, right? When we talk about, we look at folks in this room. I mean, raise your hand if you live in Atlantic City. The vast majority of us don't live in Atlantic City, right? So the we is also that resident. We've got to empower that resident to have their hand up, not their hand out, right? This is a resident that works in our hospitality fields, and we are today more unhospitable than we've ever been, right? We're consistently on lists of unfriendly places. At one point, I think it was 2 years ago, we were up there with cities in Russia, right? So I think there's not just we as a business community, but we also have to empower a resident base to say, hey, you know, these social programs that exist off the back of the success of Atlantic City, right? If we falter any further than we are, and listen, Atlantic City's faltering, right? We can't sustain these programs. These programs aren't grant related. They're not, you know, so it's very cyclical, the we. We have to pull in the residents of Atlantic City, and we need you to make it a safer place to be. You know, and this comes from the mayor and the city council and these groups. You know, those are the folks who need to empower the residents to show that they actually have stock in Atlantic City. The most excited I've ever seen a resident about Atlantic City was weirdly when a T-shirt came out, and everybody was wearing a Respect Atlantic City T-shirt. That lasted about a year and a half, right? And then, of course, dude doesn't make T-shirts anymore. But that is literally a part of the puzzle.
So, Gary, you're right on point, but you're talking about marketing connectivity, and Nick, you're talking about, how do you motivate people to move forward? And, I'm listening to what you said about the casinos never looking better and how amazing your restaurant is and how, we're doing a lot in Cape May, but I think this is more about Atlantic City. So I don't know how many people park their car and walk a couple blocks to where they have to go. I do that all the time. And where I think we're missing the boat on this is how do you create the physical connectability so it's easy for people to connect from casino to casino. Some of the best cities in the world are very walkable. You were talking about getting people on the street, and that's what prompted this thought. So how do you, and I want your opinions on this, how do you see that connectivity moving forward? I mean, you can talk from the industry, you can talk from small business, you can talk from DMO, and you can talk from economics and best practices, maybe Oliver, but how do we create that connectivity that makes it easy for people to feel cleaner and safer here, feel like there's safety, to not walk past a lot of blight to get to beautiful. There's a lot of great pockets of very exciting things happening in the city. So on top of the marketing message, what are your thoughts on the connectivity within the city, which is very manageable, 48 blocks? How do you create that connectivity between the groups?
Great question. I wish somebody would have the answer.
The answer is good management.
So,
Right?
you need police presence.
You're successful. Everybody, you're successful because you're managing your business well.
So, you need police presence through, I grew up in this area. I'd walk down Pacific Avenue in a heartbeat. Right now, I wouldn't walk down Pacific Avenue from Tropicana to Caesars. Just wouldn't do it. It's just the perception. The city's small. We have some crime issues, and our crime is out in the forefront. Vegas has same issues we have, but it's hidden. It's a bigger city, so a bigger police presence. Just the beautification projects to fix up the downtrodden properties. Empty lots aren't good. So I think CRDA needs some investment in this. I think some of the CRDA board members might be blind to some of the problems because they're not truly vested in the city, I'd say. So.
I mean, one of the things that has helped my restaurant a lot is the Chelsea EDC. They have helped me a lot with renovating my facade. We did the mural. They have Stockton actually put up a lot of lights in this area. I think if you get all the districts to come together to help the local businesses, I think that's a good conversation to start with them. I don't know who the presidents are for the other districts in the area. I know it's like Ducktown, Midtown, Chelsea EDC, and I think there's like one more. The Inlet. I think if they all come together, come and agree on how they can help each other and provide the resources to the local businesses, the local people, the residents, I think something can be done a little bit on a smaller scale. And then yes, the CRDA does have to come in and also meet with this group of people to create something even bigger. So it's not just like, we don't just like put it all on like City Hall and like City Hall has to do it because they're not gonna do it. They're gonna take a long time to have meetings and meetings and meetings to actually do something. So I think the Chelsea district actually has been able to like push it through and finalize on their projects that they have implemented and have done. So I think if we start on those, perhaps Atlantic City can start getting a little better here and there.
Steve Young, former planning board chairperson of Atlantic City. And I agree with what you're saying about being inclusive as well as sharing the resources. That's a major end. But I have two questions. One is about policy. Policy driving the economy. What do you recommend in the state of New Jersey as a new policy that you see that can move the community as well as casino industry and the tourism forward? Another question is workforce housing. You have a lot of people working in the industry. I'm sure they want to live here, but can they afford to live here? Is anyone working on some type of plan for workforce housing?
They're both above my pay grade. I'm not a politician, but Atlantic City has some affordable housing in the area. But once you get out of the area, like Atlantic County, I live in Ventnor. You can't buy a house in Ventnor right now, living on, an hourly wage in Atlantic City. What was your first question again? I'm sorry.
Policy.
It was
state policy.
Policies.
So I'll just throw it at the table on that. You have, if you're a promoter, concerts, festivals, you pay an extra 9% in this city. And maybe sometimes you probably should pay an extra 9%. But that also could be the margin of profit for promoters coming to the city to do festivals and events. You used to have the Dave Matthews Caravan, right? You had Fish out at Baderfield. You had all these events going on. And the reason it didn't become sustainable was the cost of using that facility and the extra 9% that could have been their margin that makes them go to Asbury. So that policy change, and I'm not sure if this works because I'm no expert at that, but because there is a domino effect of the tax dollars associated with events like that. But if it can be stimulated by managing that 9% to get events up and running so they become more sustainable.
Is that a state tax, the 9%?
9% is just Atlantic City tax.
So it's Atlantic City tax
Only tickets sold, John may be able to talk more to that, only tickets sold to public events in Atlantic City pay a luxury tax of 9%. So, and I'm not suggesting that's not necessary. I'm suggesting that all incentive-based programs, does that have to be managed differently to get events up on their feet and make them sustainable? Because if you're starting off and all of a sudden 9 or 10% is coming off the bottom line that you didn't account for in other cities or states, that's going to make the decision a little easier to either leave or choose to develop those events elsewhere.
Sure, but just to add that too, with the CRDA, again, there should be some kind of function in there to bring festivals in. To pay, they know they do it, but they don't vet them properly, some of them. That 9.5%, great, let's waive it for a first-time event. Let's see how successful it is. It's an opportunity to bring new business into the city, new festivals. Guys like John who could put on a different type of festival and have that risk of that 9.5%. But the CRDA and the city, correct me if I'm wrong, the CRDA, a lot of that is broke right now, and a lot of that money is going to pay down the city debt. That's not what the CRDA was for. It was for projects and beautification of the city, and look at the history of it. It didn't go to the city. It went outside the city. So this problem, it could have been addressed 20 years ago where the money was filtering out of the city, and now we're in a predicament now that we have to do something about it. Take that that money the CRDA is filtering to pay down the city debt and put that out somewhere else into the city.
Yeah, excuse me. Charles Garrett. Yeah, I live in Atlantic City. Grew up in Atlantic City. Okay, went away, lived in New York for a number of years, and I came back with the advent of gambling. You're talking about safety, number one, and being unsafe to walk Pacific Avenue, and the whole perception. The state created a tourism district, okay, and I saw it as a land grab. 25 years ago, you had 410 police officers, okay? Right now, you got 330, okay? You're down almost 100 police officers from a quarter century ago. Now, you've got a tourism district that we need visibility. You need law enforcement visibility. And the state should be in here, and don't tell me about money. The state troopers should be in here from a visibility standpoint, in the tourism district. That's Pacific Avenue, the boardwalk, Atlantic. you need police presence. You got the cradle of entitlement. You got the mission. You got the needle exchange. You got all these feeders for elements that really, I mean, certainly they need attention. But you're trying to make this a destination resort. Why can't the stakeholders get together and start talking seriously about eliminating some of these negative factors? You keep trying to do the wrong thing better. And I'm telling you, I'm a former freeholder. I opened up the convention center as deputy chief of security. I opened up the rail terminal as a facility manager. And it's all, the mission, it was there, but it should have been relocated a long time ago. It's a feeder for a lot of your problems here. And I don't know why it won't be addressed. And it's my 2 cents.
I agree 100%.
Okay, we have time for one more question. We're kind of over time already, but we'll take one more question, if anyone has one. Okay.
Good morning. I agree with my colleague here. The troopers should be in this area. Our police are working as hard as they can. We don't have enough police. And they're sitting at the table. Everybody that sits at the table, and I'm sure the casinos sit somewhere at some table, they should be forcing this aspect of more troopers and police in this area. As my colleague said, it's a lot of entitlements in Atlantic City, a lot. We're only 48 blocks, and we're harboring everybody else's entitlements. They bring them here, and they drop them here, and then we have 48 blocks to handle all of it. The city is doing a lot, but they only have but so much to do. They don't have enough money either. So everybody that sits at the table need to come together. It's sitting at that table, but the young man said earlier, everybody that sits at that table should come up with something and not be all biggity and all whatever they can be. But everybody needs to come down to the level of everyday people, everyday people. That's what would make the city better. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, well, we had a wonderful panel discussion and a wonderful discussion from the audience. So thank you all for the wonderful, wonderful participation. If I could just summarize with a few key points that came out of this discussion today. First of all, the events do seem to have had an impact on the city. I think that was a big point of discussion. Also, Cape May's doing great. Atlantic City is doing good, but it's not really growing as much as everyone would like. And what else was there? Of course, the perception of clean and safety seemed to be a big part of the discussion today. So thank you all for contributing. I hope you enjoyed the panel. And we do have a QR code up there if you wouldn't mind taking a survey to help us do a better job in the future. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists.